It's really cool to see so many people joining right away. So it's pretty good. But let's give it another maybe like 1 minute, 30 seconds for more people to join before we will proceed. Yeah, but I guess in the meantime, I'll be let just remind everyone for those people who are new here and for people who probably been around before what the structure of the space is and what we are planning kind of to talk about today. So typically we kind of this spaces we we usually talk about different companies and how they hire, how they fire, how they what's their working culture, and then we proceed with the Q&A. But today we'll try something different. Today we will focus specifically on like a one specific role, which is technical writing in crypto and Web3, and we'll talk about just probably writing in general as well, and as well as about what Ake is working on and about the Chainstack, which is the company he's at. And I think that part will be about 40 minutes or so, depending how how excited we get about that and about the conversation. And then after the 40 minutes or so, we're going to have another 30 minutes Q&A session where we will give the microphone to everyone in the room. And, make sure to, if you have some questions or interesting ideas while I'm asking Ake different questions, please write them down. Please don't forget your questions. You will have an opportunity to ask them towards the end during the Q&A session. And another reminder that this session is being recorded and you'll be able to listen to it in our, it's sort of like a podcast feed, so to say. It's called Working Crypto, and you can find it on pretty much any podcasting app out there. And it's, literally a recording of this crypto space, no fancy production quality as you would expect in other podcasts. But anyway, I think we have a quite substantial number of people. I'm actually quite excited and surprised. Let's just proceed. So, Ake, maybe please a quick intro about yourself. What are you working on? What's the company you're working at?
Yeah. Well, number one, first, thanks a lot, Crypto Jobs List. I think what you're doing is very, very exciting. I think it's you're actually contributing to Web3 space, which have quite a bit of shortage of talent and a lot of misconceptions in there, and doing this specific topic-based sort of thing on letting people know from the inside on how various positions work and technical writing specifically. In there, you're contributing directly to Web3 space in a positive manner, which I'm personally super excited. So, yeah, thanks a lot again. My name is Ake. That's what people call me in the blockchain space, and that's what everybody calls me in the company. My experience is I've been doing the technical communication, knowledge management, and technical writing specifically for the past 16 years. All of those 16 years I've been doing that in the software space, which started as 16 years ago as proprietary software. Then I moved on into open source software, and then open source and blockchain, specifically the three different spaces, the three different transitions that we're going to talk about today. And currently, with Chainstack, I believe my official title position is content lead currently. But I'm leading the content team, and our content team has three major roles in the team. One is the technical writer role, the other one is the technical copywriter role, and the third one is the developer advocate role. All three roles are kind of symbiotic. So, and they are, I believe doing what I do at Chainstack qualifies me to speak about technical writing specifically in Web3. Chainstack itself is a great company. What we do is we provide blockchain nodes to the projects that build decentralized applications or blockchain services and to end users as well who need access to stable, fault-tolerant, load-balanced access to a blockchain network, to a public blockchain network, although we do have enterprise blockchains as well. At Chainstack, again, for these three major roles, we have a number of assets that my team is responsible for. which is blockchain-related how-tos and tutorials, highly technical, coming majorly from our developer advocates. Then we have our product and platform documentation, which is a mix of software as a service type of experience and documentation, and the value-added blockchain specific, very specific related to blockchain how-tos and tutorials and how to do various stuff with the blockchain nodes that we provide. And we are also all doing all the stuff that's in between, which is related to marketing materials, specifically for writing, like landing pages, customer stories, and all this stuff. So multi-faceted sort of experience, all resulted in an end product, which is written text in Web3, which is, I think, is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. So I guess like I'm not an expert in writing. Like my background is mostly engineering, and I write code for machines rather than writing. I rather people who write code for other humans to read, or what I meant there is writing text for people to read. Unsuccessful pun there, but
that's a good one.
I think common misconception is that everyone thinks that they can write, and I think one of the things that I'm seeing and what you seen before is that a lot of people apply to technical writer positions, thinking that they can be one or they have the required skills, but apparently it's not so easy, or it's not that simple. What's the main difference between like technical writer and like just general writer? What are those additional skills that are necessary?
It really is not. That's a very, very, very good question. Perfect way to start, I think, this conversation. So, in the Web3 space specifically, I think is one of the biggest, as the new industry, is one of the biggest offenders in this kind of misconception that if you can write, you can become a technical writer or even a technical copywriter or anything. So, the number one thing is what people mostly do when they write, or general writers, or they produce any strings of words, they are mainly trying to convey a message to the other, to the audience, to the other person they're talking to, and they are kind of self-indulgent in that their main idea is to convey their message to in any way they can, in how they learn in school. But in the technical writing, specifically in technical communication and even technical copywriting, the idea is sort of very, very different, and it's called it can be encapsulated is in the sentence that says, and that we repeat often, is that easy reading is hard writing. So whenever you're sending a message, whenever you're starting
lol
yeah, whenever you're sending a message or an email, or you most people, me including, I wouldn't think too much about the person on the other end, as in I would try to in general speak English if the person speaks English, but on top of that, I wouldn't spend too much to try and make my message very, very sharp. So in technical writing, this is one of the key things, is that you're trying to convey. You care about the end user, the reader, the person who is consuming your information the most. And you're trying to save their time, meaning that as a technical writer, which again is very different from the technical copywriter, for example, is you're trying to be very succinct, and you're trying to save their time to get the information that they need to them the fastest and in the simplest way, which is kind of, you need to find the balance, because the information that they come to you for, especially in software, is not the easiest thing to consume, and they do not come to you for your stories, for example. They come to you in the time of need, when they need to learn something that, like, a lot of the time they really wish they knew that, they had already learned that, but now that they need to learn that, it's not the most pleasant experience most of the time, even though it's fun, it's educational. So you need to care about that. And to do that, it's very, very similar to writing the code. even though it's not obviously the same thing, but you have your own patterns that you have to always use to write simple short sentences. You need to be not self-indulgent at all. And you need to have very, very deep, as deep as possible understanding of what you're writing about or what you're producing, the content that you're producing, because there is always some loss of information during this type of communication, and because you're trying to be, again, very economic in your words for the sake of the end user, for the sake of the audience, you're trying to you basically care about the audience the most, and you're not really trying to entertain them. I mean, so this sort of thing, and you need to, if you don't have an understanding of the concept of the specific thing that you're doing, you won't be able to convey the message successfully, the specific instructions that the people need. And this is and because even if you do have the understanding, there will still be, again, some loss of information in there. So me being pretty wordy here, but this is this is the basic difference in writing and doing technical writing.
So one of the questions that I probably should have asked even earlier, like for uninitiated people like myself, and maybe for some other people who are already maybe writers and they're considering kind of jumping into technical writing or wanting to learn more about it, where specifically, like as a user, right? First of all, who's the audience? Is that the developers who are reading what technical writers write? Or is that some other audience?
Well, it really depends. For Chainstack, we are mostly targeting developers who are our main users. But if you're doing, for example, but we also have a mix. We also have some people who are end users. And if you take, for example, a popular project like MetaMask, they would also have two different types of audience. One is developers, for example, how to integrate MetaMask in your application to make sure it connects and retrieves information and all of that. And the other type would be end users who want to use MetaMask or who want to understand the architecture of MetaMask as a Web3 sort of application. So there are different types of users, but in general, developers are anything you do with developers as a target audience in, be it Web3 or Web2 or anything, is the most challenging and at the same time satisfying thing to do. As in, if you're writing for developers, you would be able to prepare your content for end users, and it would be much easier than it would be for developers. But yeah, so target audience depends on the product. At Chainstack, we have developers, and we do some stuff for end users as well, but mostly developers.
Awesome. And I think like another question, like I mean, again, from a dev perspective,
right.
Like my current understanding is the majority of the kind of docs are considered technical writing, right? Like, is there any other so to say, like mediums or any other places where technical writers end up publishing their work, right? Is it only the those what's that service? Not GitHub, but there was another one.
Gitbook.
Yeah, Gitbook, exactly.
Well,
Gitbook is probably like the most like the canonical example of technical writing, I suppose, right?
Correct.
Is there any other places where you would expect to publish the work, or where the work of a technical writer is going to be used?
You as a developer, you would probably read the docs as well. It started in open source, and now it is pretty popular in the blockchain space. I think Solidity, Web3.js, Web3 Python, all those live on read the docs. And Gitbook is very popular. And I think Gitbook is one of the examples of that all those Web3 projects, the shortage of talent in Web3 is a lot of people are producing instructions for all those projects are not originally technical writers. And to give you an idea about that, if this space was started by the technical writers who, if they were early in the space, in the form of instructions would have been very, very different. For one, it would not probably use Markdown, but it will probably be using restructured text. But that's just a minor comment. But
why not Markdown, by the way?
Well, it's a different. It's much easier to understand but it's less versatile type of code or syntax. Can we call it syntax? I believe. But Markdown is great as well because everybody's using Markdown and all the docs, everything in Web3, all of that was started and is still maintained to some extent by the developers themselves. And Markdown is easy, and developers, understandably so, do not have the time or wish to learn something that is different, and they're just basically taking the easiest path that makes sense to document and produce the documentation. But and that's why everybody's using Gitbook. Probably some project somewhere at some point started Gitbook with Markdown, and they are just pumping information in there without thinking too much. And I mean, it's great that people are sharing the information, that the people are preparing the instructions and writing and all of that. But there is most of the time, there is no consideration for some of the core technical writing things like information architecture, reusable content. How do you maintain the instructions up to date? How do you keep all of this stuff? Do you care about the reader, or do you have the expertise to produce the content in a way that the reader, the consumer, the end user will find it easy to consume your piece? Or are you just writing the instructions to, without any consideration for any of that, or the consistency, and basically putting it out there, which I think is fine as long as you're doing something, is fine. But in general, the industry needs to be moving in the direction of serious, technical writing, expertly, which is a big part of contributing to the general blockchain adoption, Web3 adoption. People need to understand what's going on, and they need to be able to understand it by consuming the information that is architected in an easy to consume way. So,
outside of Markdown, what's your personal preference, or what would you suggest the whole industry to adopt instead?
Well, everybody should be using Markdown. Number one, should be using Markdown simply because it does not create an obstacle. Everybody's using GitHub, and GitHub is using Markdown, and using Markdown does not create an obstacle to contributing the information from everybody who understands how to do that, which is everybody. But personally, I would like to use restructured text, but it's probably not really relevant. So
restructured text,
RST,
right?
Yes, RST. I think it was native to read the docs originally, the text, and it was kind of used vastly relatively in the open source space, but then it died down as everybody moved to Markdown. So it's just a matter of personal preference. Probably not worth to be exploring for anybody trying to get into the space. What's more important is the information architecture, and I guess I can talk a little bit if there are different types of people trying to get into technical writing, and they need to understand the two major types are into technical writing in Web3. The two major types are the kind of Web2 proprietary software or even open source software people, and the other one is new people. So I can talk a little bit about how they should be doing this.
Let's dive in. So the first category is
first category is the technical writers currently in either Web 2 or proprietary software, kind of the traditional software experience that's been traditional for the past maybe 20 years, and now which blockchain is changing a lot. So because I talk a lot to those people, and being a technical writer is pretty unique experience. I don't personally talk to a lot of technical writers, and I do not, apart from interviews or apart from some professional kind of meetups, which I don't attend a lot, but the not everybody wants to be a technical writer. That's number one. But if you are already a technical writer in the Web2 proprietary software, there is of which there is quite a big group of people who are trying to transition into Web3. They do not. Most of them have a number of traits that they need to. There are the number of misconceptions that they need to deal with. Number one is they are using, which is easy to fix. They are using proprietary software, closed source software to produce their technical writing, which is they are not using Git. They don't know, some of them don't even know Markdown. They're producing some UI type of software but they do know all the basic patterns and the information architectures type. But this one is very, very easy to fix. The bigger problem that they have is I'm going to be going from smaller to bigger problems. So the bigger, which is kind of medium problem that they have, is they don't know how to work with the community. And technical writing itself has, again, in my experience, went from proprietary software to open source software to open source plus blockchain, where you have financial incentives, 3 kind of different transitions. And on each of these transitions, there is a huge chunk of technical writers was lost. So you move from Web 2 from proprietary software to open source, you get maybe 20% of traditional technical writers go there. And from open source to blockchain, technical writing, you lose another 80% maybe of people, which is why there is a lot, a big shortage of talent in Web3 specifically for technical writers. So now number 2 is if you're in proprietary software space, you don't know how to talk to the community, and this is one of the skills that you really need to practice. Traditionally in the companies, in proprietary software companies, you get a task to work on as a technical writer, and everybody basically just trusts you. They do not. Your word is final. You don't. Somebody, if somebody proposes a piece of text, you just rewrite it and publish it. There is no work with the community. There is no real community either outside of the company, and so you just don't know how to do that, and it's something that that you can acquire only as through experience, through direct practice. So that's the medium one, and the bigger one is what I call personally, and I've heard this word from other technical writers as well, is techno-chauvinism, which is when you work. Yeah, that's a pretty funny word. I'm not sure if it means exactly. If you look up the definition, it will probably mean something else. But the way it's used in some of the companies, specifically by technical writers as well, is if you are in a proprietary software company and there are developers and they have their own closed source code, they are doing their thing, and they by default assume that you cannot do what they are doing, which is fair, but it's different when you move to open source, and it's again, and when you move to the blockchain space, it's very, very different. Number one is a lot of the code currently outside of the company, outside of your proprietary software company, is open source. A lot of it is just MIT license, basically, to do whatever you want with it. So you can learn, you can start doing, you can create Python scripts, you can use Node.js, you can do whatever, you can start experimenting with the blockchain, and you don't even need to be able to start doing things as a developer or as a beginner developer with the blockchain. You don't even need special access, kind of like access lists or whatever tons of security that traditional companies have. You can just connect, use Chainstack developer, free developer account to connect to a blockchain network and use this database and start manipulating it using your own code. Something which you cannot most of the time do, or something which is very difficult to do, and by default everybody is thinking you cannot do in the traditional proprietary software companies. So a lot of the technical writers that we're doing interviews with, sometimes I send them a test task, and they say, no, this is a developer thing, I cannot do it. Even though to be able to do it, all you need is just to Google stuff for half an hour, find the instructions at Chainstack, the right even instructions at Chainstack, just copy it and run the code, and it will work. So they are kind of the victims of the techno chauvinism of those companies, and the reality of the space is also, if it was difficult to do 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, something that was difficult to do in the blockchain space, each day, because this space is so fast, it's just speed running everything. Each day that you don't do anything in the Web3 space, the piece of code that are produced currently, they are becoming each day closer, and they are moving in the general direction of you, even if you're being idle. So that each day that passes, it's easier for you to kind of start pretending that you're a developer. You can pretend, and you can start doing things, and it's relatively easy to do. And this is something that people need to understand. So you need to become a builder at heart, and then you should be able to leverage whatever experience you have with the technical writing, which is very, very, which is a great thing to have. So that's the proprietary software kind of transition for existing technical writers and senior technical writers into Web3. For new people trying to do that, is they basically need to learn these two things on the one hand. On the other hand, people willing to join this space as technical writers, I would assume they are mostly already Web3 digital native. They are not the victims of this techno chauvinism. They can, they know, or at least they are not scared of trying things. So there is sort of an advantage there for them. They can Google. Some of them, if they are Web3 users, some of them probably have purchased bots. They know how to run like Node.js or something to try and experiment. They know how to do stuff with Etherscan in other Web3 applications. So it's a lot easier for them to explore, to venture into things they don't understand and be able to grasp them quickly. So they would need to kind of gain the knowledge and maybe experience in architecting information, which sounds like it's super important thing, but it's pretty easy to do, and you can get it through practice. You can read like maybe join a course, online course, and try doing that and start contributing to the projects that are out there, which are Web3, which is again, each of your contribution. So you basically need to gain some theoretical knowledge, be a builder at heart, and try apply a theory with the mindset of helping other people understand and do anything in Web3. So and be very, very specific about that. I can talk a lot about all of that.
Yeah, let me maybe ask a few maybe specific questions.
Yeah.
One of the thoughts that just came into my mind, you mentioned this techno shock, right?
Techno-chauvinism.
Chauvinism specifically. Okay.
Maybe not a good word, but yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely need to write a few explanation tweets after the session. But okay, one of the things that came to my mind is that, and I guess that's even probably more, even more technical. Most libraries out there, and especially TypeScript is dominating the development ecosystem right now. They all the better libraries out there, the better SDKs, they have a very rich GS docs. Where basically, library that has a very well documented function kind of usability. I mean, partially TypeScript itself helps with it, but partially I've seen where people write paragraphs around what a specific function does or what can you achieve. Something would you say technical writers expected to work on kind of this code documentation aspect, or have you seen that rarely only?
Well, that is that's the difference between the traditional proprietary software companies and the open source contribution. But both, I think both parties, any organization in the open source and the traditional proprietary software company, they would say that you are expected to kind of understand that, but be to work in the general direction of being able to use that to JavaScript, TypeScript. But the difference, I think, is in you need to be able to use that, but the difference is probably in that, and maybe I'm too optimistic, but in Web3, in general, you are kind of expected to understand that and to be able to use that, but you also have this drive to be able to do that, because you being able to use a specific library in Web3 and being able to do good quality technical writing piece on that would help a lot more people than I think other libraries which are more or less well documented, like TypeScript. I believe TypeScript is probably Facebook, right? So
TypeScript, I think it's Microsoft mainly released, but okay. I think a lot of companies use it these days.
Yeah. So that for me personally, that's the big distinction is even though these are open source, they are backed by huge companies, which is great, right? Mm-hmm. They have all these. They kind of apply traditional experience to that. They hire a technical writer. Hey, you need to be able to understand this code, but and there is already good quality materials on there. But in Web3, anything, at least currently, anything that you produce as a technical writer has the ability and a very high chance of having a very, very high impact on the Web3 community in general, which is awesome and gives you a personal drive to be able to do that. You're not kind of hired gun in there. You're personally contributing to the adoption of Web3, which I think is great. So yeah, that's
highly agree with that. I would have you questions around what is typically kind of expected of a technical writer that traditional writers might be surprised by. For example, are you expected to know Git a little bit and commit to Git? Is that one of the skills that are necessary?
Correct. Right. Mm-hmm. You're also expected well, not sure if expected, but it would be very, very nice and maybe even expected to be able to contribute to other projects, your code, and being able to just be open to contribution to like Go Ethereum. Go Ethereum has a bunch of issues that need the attention of technical writers, and they've been open for some time. So, and the not just Git, but you should not be afraid. You should not be afraid of going out, exploring, trying out things, and the making sure that the instructions work is your job. Unlike in a lot of other companies where there is quality assurance, there is developers, there is blah blah blah. But you're welcome to obviously always to get the help of others, but it's your responsibility to produce something that is working. And yeah.
Okay, I think a related question to having knowledge of Git and GitHub, or like Bitbucket, whatever the company is using. What do you say a technical writer is expected to be somewhat familiar with CLI tools, command line interface tools?
Yes, absolutely. Of course.
Yeah. Or do you feel it's like optional where someone who's new to the space can like maybe learn like within a 6 months or something like this? But is that optional, or is it like a absolute requirement?
It's well, that's I would say that it's, if it's not a requirement, it's probably
nice
an indicator of the person kind of being too distant from what you're doing in Web3 as technical writers. So if it's not a requirement, that would probably be a sign of that the person is not serious about what they're doing, what their person is there. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I think like going, channeling this conversation in that direction. Right. Like, what's your current like interview process for technical writers, for you personally and within Chainstack specifically as well?
Yes, right. And yeah, that's a great question. And everybody, if you guys feel like you can be a great technical writer, we are hiring currently technical writers. We really want very, very good technical writers here. And the interview process is, there are three interview stages. One with our talent manager, the other one with me, and the other one is with our co-founder and CTO. And by the way, our co-founder and CTO, I'm not sure if he's on this space, but he's very, very very, very meticulous about technical writing. So that's kind of trying to keep the highest standard in the industry, which is, because the technical writing is part of the product. So our process is we talk to the three stages. What matters to us is the experience in information architecture, which means basically a person being able to produce documentation from scratch for a product. If they don't have this experience specifically, but they were kind of involved in that is also fine. Being highly motivated, which is pertaining to everything I already spoke about today, being highly motivated to join the Web3 space, because I think this opportunity is basically, the person needs to understand that this opportunity is very, very unique. You're getting paid to be learning Web3, to be advancing the general adoption of Web3, to the usage of it, making Web3 more accessible, and you're a big part of it, and you're getting paid for that, and you're getting more and more knowledgeable, and as a result, you produce, the result of your work is the user guides and everything. So the person needs to understand that, and it's not a hired gun in the traditional sense. It's a person highly motivated. So and not be afraid to to run the code themselves, and maybe if you have experience in the software as a service platforms, that would also be helpful for us. And if you have some experience, or if you're not afraid of the challenge of producing the text copy in the user interface, which might sound easy, but it can be very, very challenging. Sometimes you need to spend like a full day to just understand what this feature is about, because it's related to blockchain. Not be afraid of doing your own research, spending hours maybe to produce one sentence, even though it shouldn't be that slow. But sometimes you really need to research, understand, and find the best way to convey very technical information to the end user. And what you're producing as a result is very, very unique. So nobody else has done this for this kind of information specifically on the internet, and I think it's kind of inspiring to be doing that. So yeah, and after that, if the person has all of that, and on top of that, if they have a GitHub account, which is for a lot of technical writers, it's half the challenge. At least those transitioning to Web3 it's a big plus for you. And if you have text related, user guide related contributions to some of the projects, that's great. And yeah,
that's a very strong sign.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. I think there's a bunch of questions that I want to ask. Some of them like general, some of them specific. I think I'm gonna ask a few, and then we'll open up to Q&A. But I'll also try to keep asking questions. Right. I think one of the things that will probably most useful here is like, what are some? I think we did mention a few very juicy points and some tips. But do you have any like specific list of recommendation tips for someone who wants to like transition? Like, one is have a GitHub account. That's a strong signal, right? Or learn it if you do not know it yet. What are some other like this specific tips?
Yeah, once you have the GitHub account, you go and contribute. This is really the thing that you need to get some theory behind, which is just those. If you are completely unfamiliar with technical writing, read the style guides. Understand what style guides are, read the text of other traditional software companies, because they're doing this thing a lot better than Web3 currently is doing. So like Google, you can read Google Cloud documentation, IBM documentation, and try to understand the choices that they made there specifically. And once you kind of have an idea of what you will be doing as a technical writer, and you have some theory behind, you start applying this theory, you start contributing, restructuring to all those projects, and I'm pretty sure this is a very rewarding experience. So you'll be learning by doing, and the project, the open source, the Web3 projects, they will, like 90% of the time, 99% of the time, appreciate your work, and they will probably merge the stuff that you're doing, and you'll have like a huge plus sign on your resume that you contributed to some Web3 project. That is great. So, and I mean, yeah, be a builder at heart. Have some theory behind you, and have a GitHub account and contribute. That is pretty much it. Build your portfolio this way. And it's pretty easy to do as well.
So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think like one of these kind of surprising things to me, at least in the whole space, is that like a lot of people reach out to us and to me as well, asking like, how can we start contributing? And I always like almost getting confused about what to answer that, because you just start, you just go to someone else's GitHub, you look at open issues, or you look at things that are not, that are not up to your liking. Maybe like you think you can add some value there, and you issue a PR request, right? Like pull request. At least that's what you do with if you're a developer. So I wonder if it's the same recommendation for technical writers.
Exactly, you're absolutely correct. That's the number one thing that you need to be, to start doing. And again, because this space is very, very lacking in technical writers, I think a lot of people will appreciate it. Mm-hmm. In even Chainstack docs, our docs are open source, and just today I think we merged a contribution from someone from coming completely outside and fixing our docs and merging it, which I think is amazing. And the person even tweeted that. I think he felt the experience was kind of rewarding to be contributing to the docs, which work. It's a win-win situation for everybody, and stays forever on your GitHub account if you want to be more valuable in the job market.
Yeah, and in your experience, usually docs are they like in a separate repository, or are they like part of the wiki? Like GitHub has a wiki feature. Where should technical or aspiring technical writers head to primarily?
Right. Yep, correct. So there are two ways to do this. Again, docs, they separate repository most of the time. Wikis, I think everybody's trying to migrate from wikis, and you can either go to a project you like. A very easy way is to find our docs. So just type docs.project.com, which is 80% of the time probably you'll find the docs. There is probably going to be a link to edit this on GitHub, or there is going to be a link just to edit this if they're using not GitHub but some closed source like Chainlink. I think they're using README, but you can still contribute to that. Or you can, if they don't have the link, the button, you just you Google the project, you find the organization on GitHub, and again, 90% of the time you're going to have the docs, there are docs there, and you just contribute. So.
Okay, cool. And I think another, to make it even easier for people here, usually, at least with code, usually you would have like a GitHub issue, right, covering or requesting for certain fix for a certain feature, right? And that's where open source developers can contribute. Do you see a lot of people or a lot of repositories creating issues for like documentations in GitHub, or is that not the case?
It's a mix of things. Usually, the issues that you can see on the there are issues. There are issues in documentation repositories, but they are mostly the heavier ones, the ones that require like a week of work. And nobody wants to do that. So if you're feeling like you want to completely dive into an issue as a project, that's probably where you find an issue. These are things usually get fixed on the fly. And so there are two ways for you to do this. You check out the issues, and most of them are going to be a lot of work. And if you're feeling like doing it, which is great, you should do that. Or you can just start, just read the documentation. Sometimes it can be a minor thing to get you started, like a typo or a comma somewhere, and you just fix it, and everybody will appreciate this experience as well. And lo and behold, you have just contributed to a Web3 open source project, which it can be multi-billion project, and it's great. It's great.
Yeah, something to have on your not just in resume, but literally in your GitHub history, in your GitHub profile. It will show up. It's hard to lie about that.
Right.
If your contribution was merged.
Right.
Cool. I think I'll let me just ask you a few questions specifically to maybe Chainstack, specifically around like what are the specific roles that you're hiring for right now. Well, like I already pinned a tweet about technical writer position that is open currently, but are there any other roles that are open? And then we'll proceed to Q&A.
Right. Yeah, great question. So the technical writers, also technical copywriters, which again is a different position. You can read the description in there, who will need to be traditional Web3 explainers and more in the marketing type of things, but still high quality, consistent writing, which is different from technical writers. We're also always hiring developer advocates, software engineers. I think we're also hiring talent managers and probably support people. And yeah, you can check out at chainstack.com careers, the other positions that I haven't mentioned, but we're always hiring developer relations people, and sales people as well. Yeah.
All these positions.
Head of marketing.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah,
all the positions.
Yeah, we need. Yeah, we have a lot of people that we need to hire to support our growth. Yeah.
Cool. What I was about to ask? Yeah, I forgot.
That's all right.
Anyway, let's do a Q&A, and I invite everyone here to just to access for a microphone. and do a quick introduction, preferably without shilling too much your project. In the past, we had like some aggressive shilling, but yeah, do a quick introduction about yourself and ask your question to Ake about technical writing, about Chainlink. Sorry, not Chainlink, Chainstack. About Chainlink maybe too. But again, do not confuse the two companies; they are different. Equally big, I suppose. Getting there. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting for people to, ask for microphone access, I'll continue asking questions as well. So I think one of the questions that I had, and I think we wanted to cover it, is so what is that difference between a technical writer and technical copywriter?
Right. So, a good question. So the technical writer, there's a lot of differences, but the major ones would be the technical writer is there for the end user in the time of need. So when the person wants to do something and needs to find the shortcuts, the shortest way possible to do something, and you care about the end user time, their level of knowledge about all of this stuff. The technical copywriters are there are two things to it. They do not need to know as much, or maybe even at all, about information architecture, text maintainability, and single source and all that stuff. But they need more to be able to do two things. One is tell stories, more engaging, more they are not in their most like a lot of the time they are not there for the end user when the end user is in need, when they need something. They are there to educate people, maybe entertain a little, to put a story around something which can be highly technical as well, but they are to explain things and in an engaging way, which sounds like a lot of people think they know how to do, but it's an art of itself as well. And there is a lot of things that you need to be also consistent about, that you need to be producing clean, understandable prose. You need as well not to be self-indulgent in that, thinking, hey, you're producing great text, you need to think about the reader a lot. But there is more entertaining side of things to the technical copywriter.
Mm-hmm. Where does the work of a technical copywriter appear, right? So like, is it on landing pages? Is it in the user interface? Is it in documentation? Some other places?
Right. So different companies have different publication channels, sort of thing for the technical copywriters. But mostly, you're right. You're correct. So landing pages, blog posts, doing explainers, for example, Web3 explainers. Right now, we're doing the Web3 explainer, which will need the attention of a technical copywriter. Just to give you an example of what's L1, L2. Service chains and that sort of thing, kind of complex topics that need to be explained with an entertaining site to the end user. So blog posts, landing pages, emails, probably not user interface, because you're not telling a story in the user interface. And more in some other media, like maybe doing stuff for videos and that sort of thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, we have a first few people to ask questions, which is super exciting. Finally, first up is La NFT or IA NFT. Please unmute yourself and make a quick introduction of yourself and ask your question, please.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. My name is La NFT from La Lab, actually. So I am a content writer for a technical product. So sometimes I have to write copies that are explaining like technical stuff, and I really get at some point I get confused because I don't have enough information, right? So I have to go back to the developers or the engineers to try to understand. but like it's always a tedious process, and they are always busy, and it's not always easy, right? So I'm asking, is there like a system or a way, or what would you advise, somebody who is a copywriter, I would say a technical copywriter, right, to understand a technical product, to be able to write good copies?
Right. Yeah, thank you for the question. Great question. That situation happens very, very often. The number one thing would be is, are you a part of a proprietary software company, or are you a part of an open source company producing this piece of content? Because if you're part of the proprietary software company, the only way you can get the information, technical information, is probably from a developer, right? So there is no way around that. And if you're part of open source, you can do your own research. You can learn by doing. You can try and do all that stuff yourself to understand how it works, and then produce it and send it to for review. So the problem with the proprietary software is, and I understand that, I think the data, the usual data for a developer, it takes them around 15 minutes to kind of switch from what they are doing, from writing code, or the thing that they are doing, to be able to answer a question, and then it takes them another 15 minutes to kind of get back into the groove of the work that they are doing, to focus. So that's like a simple question can be 30 minutes lost, right, for a developer, which isn't great. So there are no perfect solutions to that. Ideally, you just set up sessions and prepare all your questions in advance. You set up knowledge sharing sessions. You prepare the culture. You kind of be the advocate, the evangelist of the importance of information sharing within the company, and you work around that. You prepare a meeting in advance so that the developer knows, hey, they will need to talk to you, or you kind of send gentle reminders to them, or you kind of produce what you know and ask them to comment. So again, there are no perfect solutions. It's just that you need to implement the knowledge sharing, the understanding of the importance of knowledge sharing, and that's a lot of, saving a lot of costs within the company. It's making everybody more effective, and then work around that. No easy solutions.
Hope that was a good answer, Baik. La NFT, is that any follow-up questions before we pass the mic to other participants?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's I've been trying to do that. It's just that it's not really easy.
I
wanted to also ask, where do you draw the line? So recently, I was supposed to write will I say a tech? It was supposed to be on the future. For instance, we are accepting SegWit addresses. That's Bitcoin SegWit addresses, right?
Right.
I normally write articles as well. So I'm supposed to write something about SegWit and then write how they can use it on our platform, right? We're a blockchain infrastructure. So, I mean, it was not very easy navigating through it, because I needed to go to the product manager. Okay, how do you use this? How on our platform? And I'm like, okay, am I really in the best position to do this? Or like, is there a way to get documentations, right, on how this thing goes or how this process is, so I can write a user facing article, things like that. That's like where my confusion is. I mean, it's a startup, right? We don't have enough staff, so you have to do everything and anything. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, right. So yeah, and I understand what you're saying. It's a pretty much a daily experience for all technical writers and technical copywriters as well. The thing to do here is very easy. You just start with the map, with the structure of what you need to cover, and you go in this structure as far as you possibly can. Put as much effort as you can into. For example, do you need to prepare a short intro into what SegWit is, right? If it's going to be part of your integration on your platform, can you obtain this information freely on the internet? Do you know where to go? If you can do that, then you move to the next piece. Yeah, how do you integrate there? Is there any internal wiki, internal kind of thing? Is there a demo that you can try? So you create a structure and you push through the structure as much as possible, and you fill out as much information as possible. Then when you go somewhere to request for the extra information, it will be pretty obvious that you put a lot of thought into it, that you put a lot of effort into it, and now you're kind of trying to requesting people to fill in the blanks in there, which will be easier for everybody involved, and it'll be easy communication. So yeah, basically do as much as you can on your own. Do research.
One second, we are having some technical issues with some spammers. Anyway, thanks so much, LionFT, for the question. We're gonna move up to the next person who requested the mic access, Shuk. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Quick introduction, please, and ask your question.
Hello. So yeah, I am Shub. I am from India. I am 20 years old, and I just incepted the Web3 space. I used to be a bounty hunter for the better half of 2022, and currently I am employed with Own the Doge and doing content writing for them. My question for you is that while doing bounty hunting, a lot of bounties appeared, about technical writings and all. So my approach to those writing stuff was really like I looked into the white papers of the bounties which are hosted and the platforms which hosted the bounties, and I went around them and I, did some writings. But you know how it is in bounty hunting. So, if you do not stand out, then you do not get the bounties. So, are there any tips for you to, use a different approach and, stand out from the different submissions which are there in technical writing per se?
Number one, congrats to getting into Web3 and being 20. I think you have a great future ahead of you, and yeah, congrats. So number two is, again, there are no easy solution to stand out. And some of the people on our team, on my team, on the content team, they will tell you the same thing. So you need to practice. You just need to practice. You need to have the background, and you can only get the background by, you cannot do a thing that you have never done or before, or you've done a few times without the background of, like, for example, what information architecture is, how to structure information. And to go to produce it and stand out, if there are other people who have the background, you really need to put the work and try to gain as much knowledge as you can, which, again, having the internet accessible to everybody today, which is super easy. And then practice and move from there, and then you will always be able to stand out, because, again, big shortage of experienced or any sort of technical writing in this space. So I hope that answers it.
Yeah, thank you. It does answer my questions, and I really thank Crypto Jobs List and Ake and Ash for inviting me to this space. It has been an amazing experience, and I learned a lot from this. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining and asking the question as well. Thank you so much. All right, next up, 0xD. Please unmute yourself, quick intro and a question.
Okay, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Thanks for the space, man. I'm D, actually currently a technical writer in Web2, and I've been kind of trying to lean towards Web3, like technical writing as well. But I've been having like I actually didn't know how to properly transit from Web2 to Web3. Because one of the things that I found like in Web2 is like actually initially I was a software writer, then I moved to technical writing, and so it was easier for me to attend interviews and talk to developers in Web2. But right now I'm kind of a bit concerned because I have no, should I say, development knowledge in Web3. So I don't know if that's like a factor in getting technical writing jobs in Web3, or if that's going to affect me in any way.
Right.
Or what are your thoughts on that, if I may ask?
Yeah, great question. Can I ask you where you're located?
I'm currently in Shanghai.
In Shanghai. Okay. Wow. Yeah. In Shanghai. Wow. Yeah. So you're correct in all of your assumptions. And again, congrats on thinking on how to transition to Web3, because there is a very, very clear path that you described. So number one is you basically said what we were talking about is you think you don't have the development experience, but the reality is that Web3 is moving towards you. The development experience of Web3 and blockchain is moving towards you, whether you like it or not. And when you decide to try your hand out, you'll very, very quickly learn that you have something that you'll be able to do something fairly easily that you can put in your resume, and which will qualify as some sort of development experience for a technical writer. Just don't be afraid of it. The blockchain, all the stuff in the blockchain that you can do like on the beginner level I promise you, is a lot easier than it is in Web2. Simply for the reasons because it's all open source, it's all open. There is a lot of tutorials and everything. So not all of them are great, but it's a wealth of information that you just need to sift through and do. That's why just don't be afraid. Be a builder in heart. And if you start today, in a week, you might email or you have a GitHub account with the projects. So I'm not sure how it works in Shanghai, but ideally on your CV, it would be nice to have a GitHub account and you contributing to some of the open source blockchain projects. And since you are a Web2 technical writer, if you go, if you look around and you see all the documentation in Web3, most of that you will be appalled at, at the state of it. And it will be very, very easy for you to rise above, the rest with your experience, and just do a chapter, do a guide, just restructure what's in there, and that will be already like a huge plus sign on your resume. It's not complicated. It's relatively easy if you know what to do. And as a technical writer in Web2, you just need to make this step, and it will be very easy.
I appreciate your response. I've actually just been thinking of an angle, but your answer is actually, really, really spot on, and it has given me a lot to work on. And another thing I was kind of, should I say, thinking about before was, sometimes like in Web2, they ask for your, like you said, like your past works or, contributions you've made. And that actually has been keeping me back, like from entering the Web3. But your answers has pointed me like in the right direction. That's given me somewhere to start. So I will definitely look into that. I really appreciate your answer.
Come join Web3. It's a great place to be. You will never look
back. I can't wait.
You will never look back.
Yeah. I can't wait. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
There was a tweet with the Chainstack's job description and the job application link. Pinned it in the space. So 0xD, go check it out. Maybe it's something up your alley, something that might be interesting to you, or DM Ake directly, I suppose.
Right.
Okay, I will for sure. I appreciate it. I will for sure. But right now, like I'm trying to look for like a part-time job because I have a full-time job right now, and I actually don't know. I don't like starting something like I'm not 100% like confident in. So like I'm trying to like do open freelance and just to get, like you said, build the CV and improve my contributions in GitHub.
Yeah,
before I can transition forward.
We don't have because we are growing really fast. We don't have part-time job openings, but we have something that might scare you. But I promise you should not be scared. We just last week we launched something that's called Community Developer Hub. It's basically you produce a tutorial. Our developer advocates and our technical writers and technical copywriters work with you to publish your tutorial related to Web3 and Chainstack in a blog post, and then you get published. That will be a huge plus again for your resume to get under your name, published at Chainstack, and you get paid for that. So that's something you might want to explore. And everybody on this call, if you guys want to explore that, I suggest that you do. It's a great way to get some experience, professional experience, money, and beef up your resume. There is literally zero downside to it.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely look into that. I'll give you guys a follow right now. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thank you, too.
Thanks for your time as well, and thanks for the space. I'll drop down to the listeners right now.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for the questions, ZeroXD. Please make sure to follow Ake. He definitely needs more followers. And, if you're at it, do make sure to follow Crypto Jobs List and Chainstack and myself, maybe. One quick reminder. One quick reminder is that Twitter does have a limit on number of speakers that can be active at the same time. So I'll have to be removing people who've been who asked the question. So please don't be too offended. And we will just proceed to those people who raised their hand again. I hope I don't forget the order. I think it's Tunkumi, the guy with the I think like a monkey, Microsoft dev student. Please unmute yourself and ask your question. Quick intro. Hello.
Hello, my name is Tunkumi, or to just make it easier, you can just call me TK. That works too. My question is for Ake. My question is, so at the beginning of the year, I have actually been in the crypto space, like trading and blockchain stuff for quite a while. So at the beginning of the year, when sometime last year actually, when Web3 started like getting more traction, it was everywhere, things like that. So I started ranting more about it because I do that a lot. Started ranting more about it on my WhatsApp status, sometimes on my Twitter too. So a friend of mine was like, why don't I, instead of like just randomly ranting, why don't I just like start writing about it, and to some extent I have some like developer experience. I know how to like read documentations, GitHub. I know how to like do basic HTML, CSS stuff, just basic developer stuff. So I started like sometime in March, I started writing on Web3. I wrote a tutorial on how to add Solana's POS system into your website. I talked about the Solana ecosystem because I was like following Solana pretty much then at that time. I even had one contribution, although it was unofficial, to I don't know if you know Unstoppable Domains. They had this issue with their login feature, so I tried to I was going to write an article on it, but then they didn't have that library on npm.js, so I had to tell someone, reach out to someone on Twitter that, oh, your library isn't working, this and that, can they fix it? Because I wanted to. So yeah, so my question mainly is from just what I have said so far, does this qualify me as quote unquote a technical writer? And does it qualify me as a technical writer? And would you encourage me to shoot my shots for jobs? And yeah, because I'm just writing about it. I read documentations. I even sort of contributed to Polygon Zone because they had some, although it was just more of a typo, but yeah. So that's mainly my question. Would you advise me to apply for jobs and see where it takes me? And what do you think? Does that qualify me? Does that qualify me to be a technical writer? So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jacob, for the question. Great question. So I'll be completely straightforward and honest with you. As a technical writer for Chainstack, that probably does not qualify you because you need experience specifically in technical writing, information architecture, that sort of thing. Just being able to write is probably not enough for us. But you go ahead and shoot your resume because we have technical copywriter positions open. So that might qualify you as a technical copywriter, and your experience that you described it is pretty decent, which is great, and you're technical enough. Yeah, but then again, so for other companies that might qualify you as a technical writer, because again, there is shortage of talent and a lot of people looking more beginner level technical writers who to start producing their documentation and kind of learn on the fly. we need a little bit more medium senior people for the technical writer position specifically. But I think what you're doing is great, and the journey that you embarked on and the direction you're moving in is if you might end up being a great technical copywriter. More maybe around stories, less dry text. But if you're looking to become more of a technical writer, then you need to start gaining more technical writing experience. Yeah.
All right. I didn't catch the last part. You said if I'm looking to become more of a technical writer, I need to gain what exactly? I didn't catch. Well, let me just ask you this. So how do I would I say transition or climb into being more of a technical writer? Because from time to time I build stuff, I just have fun, try play around with code. So what will I need to move up a little bit into the technical writing space in general, not just technical copywriting?
Yeah, for technical writing, I suggest that something very easy. Just go and find an online course, for example, that teaches specifically technical writing, and you go through this course, and you will. It will probably not make anyone a technical writer, but it will expose kind of the things that that you in your profession need to learn, in the direction that you need to move, how to produce a sentence, where to put a comma in a sentence specifically for the ease of reading for the user, how to structure your paragraphs, how to structure the sections in the user guide, all of that stuff. It relatively decent. Any online course that you can see, rated relatively highly, will teach you that they're usually cheap, and that will move you in the general direction of technical writing. And from there, you need to explore each of these topics specifically by yourself and practice them, and then you'll become a technical writer.
Wow, thank you very, very much. That was actually very informative, and I really appreciate that. That set some tone for me on a bit of degree on what direction I know to go, and I really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Appreciate the question as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much for the question, TK. Next up is, I believe, either Destiny or Lacro. I have a feeling Lacro was first to ask to get on the stage. So please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm not particularly looking to become a technical writer myself. I already work in Web3, but a question that came to mind to kind of that might be useful for people who are looking to do so would be would most likely be kind of if they don't have any experience in the kind of space with that. They have the knowledge, but they haven't got any experience they can put on their resume. Would you recommend kind of working for free temporarily to kind of build up that experience? What are your kind of thoughts on that narrative?
Well, the question is, it's a great question. But since you're working Web3, what's working for free? In that sense, does that mean you joining as an intern, remotely some company and doing the tasks that they have, or do you just take your initiative and go around and start contributing to different repositories and making sure your code is merged, and then that's how you gain the experience and you're not tied to one company? I don't know. I think if you I'm not sure what the position on working for free should be, but I think even interns get paid. On the one hand, if you're getting yourself limited to one company for free, or if you just venture out in the open source blockchain space, just on GitHub, where there is a lot of issues that need attention, and you just do your stuff in there and gets logged publicly for you to beef up your resume. I mean, I would personally go for the one to venture out on GitHub and just start contributing to projects that you like, that you want to learn more about, and instead of going to work for free with the company.
That's it.
Yeah, if you want to join some other companies as an intern, and if they are paying you, then of course, maybe that is an option depending on how much money you want. That would be my personal take.
Yeah, that's a great answer as well. It's definitely a hard question too. It's kind of I suppose it depends on a lot of factors as well outside. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, great question. I love it. Thank you.
Thanks, Sulakar, for the question. Next up, we have Destiny. Please unmute yourself. And quick intro. Don't forget that.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come on here and ask my question. My name is Destiny. I'm a technical writer for right here. I work mostly on the business side of things, and I do mostly documentation. And I work in a blockchain firm that tries to educate developers and train them in blockchain languages and connect them to clients. So my question is this question that's always asked about coding roles in technical writing. Do you have to code to be a technical writer, or you can actually be a technical writer in the tech space in Web3 and still not actually code? So that's my question.
Of course, good question. Thank you. You do not have to be able to code to be a technical writer, but being able to look into, so a quick story. One of our developer advocates, he on my team, we had this idea to, because GitHub released the AI Copilot, right? One of the ideas was for him to have a look into how it worked with Solidity, with coding Solidity, whereby the artificial intelligence is filling out the rest of the code for you in the general direction of where you want to move with the Solidity code, which is a crazy thing because it's Solidity immutable smart contract. So it's actually fun thing to do, and it's kind of working. So does that mean he's coding as a developer, or does that mean the AI is coding for him? So my answer would be, based on that, is coding is a pretty strong word, and a lot of, again, Web2, other, not Web3, not people who've been in Web3 for a long time. For some time, they think that you need to be able to code, and when people say you need to be able to code, you need to be able to run the code. You need to be able to look into the code, see maybe why it's not working. If it's something simple like there is a typo in a variable or something like that, and it's not difficult. You should be able to do that. Once and it's easy to learn, and once you can do that, that's already number one. That's already enough. That's number two. It puts you above the rest of the technical writers quite by a margin. So that would be my answer. You need to be able to not be afraid to run a piece of code and just look into, have a general understanding of what's going on there, and it's easy. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question, Destiny. All right, next up we have Smith. Please unmute yourself, give a quick introduction, and ask a question.
Hello, guys. I'm Smith. I do technical diligence at Delta Fund. So I am a blockchain developer. I write smart contracts. I'm deep into technology. So I wanted to know, are there any specific skills that one needs to have in order to be a technical writer? I have mostly worked with startups wherein we don't maintain hefty or heavy documentation for the projects we build. So any way how I can improve on that, or how I can more as a hobby gig, like writing technical stuff and technical articles as a hobby, not looking something full time. So any suggestions on that?
So articles in themselves are probably not the focus or the domain of technical writing. Technical writing is more about producing a finished, final, full-fledged project in the form of a user guide, admin guide, that sort of thing that has many moving parts in there, and that's composed of many components. So if you approach a project holistically, like from that perspective, as in you want to have your project documented, maintained in the form of text, easily updated and easily searched through, then that would be the focus for you to start. Okay. Hello. Okay.
There are massive lags in Twitter. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, that will be the focus of being able to produce a full-fledged piece of documentation and a guide, no matter how small, composed of different parts and different sections and different like a full project. And if you want to do articles on the side, then you might want to do they are standalone pieces. They do not follow as information architecture type of and style guide type of things as much as the holistic projects like user guides, for example, because there is some structure, but there is no real requirement for information architecture in an article. So you might want to look into how to structure things, and you might want to, if you're producing several articles, you might want to look into how the best way to cross-link them so you don't rewrite the information always, and you keep with some sort of consistency. That will be like a part of technical writing, but that will be not the full experience that you may or may not be looking for. So yeah, if you want,
Can you suggest me any resources wherein I could go and understand the structure on how to structure things to put it into perspective?
I suggest you take one of the companies that you think they produce nice documentation, and you Google and you put in the search bar the name of the company and the word style guide, and you'll find something like, for example, I would, if you like the way the Google Cloud is documented, look for Google Cloud style guide. If you like DigitalOcean, you look for DigitalOcean style guide, and in general, any big name that has more or less traditional, sort of documentation. You just go into style guide and start consuming what they have, and that will be already a great start. It will move you forward a lot.
Got it. Thank you. That answers my question. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Something that I myself learned just today, style guide, the concept of it kind of makes sense. Like, graphic designers, they have a, style guide, but a little bit different, like a brand book. That's that concept. But I think it definitely makes sense for content writers and for technical writers to have a very specific guide. Is that something that being part of the industry for quite some time?
Yes, it's absolutely required, I think, all the time, always. Yep, we all have internal style guides. Yep.
Cool. Yeah, thanks so much, Smith, for the question. We had some pretty good questions today, I think. So some interruptions here and there, but I think overall it's pretty good good content there. I think, how are we doing on energy, Ake? Do we want to do another 15-30 minutes, or can you go indefinitely? Or
up to you. I'm doing fine. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Sure. I think it's in our time zones is getting kind of late, but let's give it another maybe like 15-30 minutes.
Yep.
And let's give opportunity to more people to ask questions. In the meantime, I have a question too. So what I've been always curious about is, let's say you have some feature that gets updated. How do you make sure that it gets updated in the documentation in timely manner? And sorry, go on.
No, yeah, go. That is an awesome question. That is an absolutely awesome question. I almost forgot that this question exists, but that's awesome. Yeah, if you wanted to add something, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think like the follow up to this question is that one, how do you make sure it gets updated, and two, how do you make sure that it gets updated everywhere in documentation?
Right. So, super awesome question. I almost forgot it exists. If you go to docs.chainstack.com, you'll see, I think, zero screenshots, and I'll explain why. So there are two positions. There are two views on this issue, and I personally am kind of strong proponent of the thing that of the view where you don't need screenshots, pictures in the documentation. And for the simple reason, well, for the reason of, at least my reason is that when you do, unless it's some sort of a chart, right, you're taking a copy of a dynamic, like if it's a software as a service platform, for example, of a dynamic user interface kind of thing, and you're putting it in text that you're already explaining, and on top of that, you need to maintain it. I think, for me personally, it really doesn't make sense. But so that's my personal view, and you increase user guide and text maintainability by not including the pictures and by not doing that. But there is other perfectly valid reason to include that as well, which is for some people, because I'm text first, I'm very not great visual person, but for some people, when they navigate themselves in the user guides and in the text, they want to quickly identify which section they are on by looking at the screenshot, even if it's a little bit outdated. So they, instead of reading the what the text is about, or instead of reading the title, because they're more visual, they have a quick look at a screenshot, and then it saves them time, which is also a perfectly perfect reason for the screenshots to exist, to address this sort of audience. But you lose maintainability in that you kind of lose other people who do not navigate by screenshots. But it all depends on the company, and it all depends, which path you choose to go with your text, and both of them are valid. So yeah.
Where did you suggest me to go on docs.chainstack.com? Which page?
And I mean, there are no screenshots in there.
Okay. I think either one of us got a little bit confused. I'm not sure if we're on the same page about the question. I was asking, how do you make sure that the documentation gets updated when some feature gets updated?
I thought the question was about screenshots. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So just to summarize, then you answer. You're saying like no screenshots in docs. That's your preference, right?
Yes. And there is also reason for other people to include screenshots in the docs, and there are I provide a reason for that. But sorry about that. So, but
it's a good answer. I think it's something that I didn't know that it was such a strong opinions on that.
It's pretty strong, and that's why I was kind of happy to hear that, because I totally forgot about that. But it's a hot topic. Yeah. So to make sure the features and everything is updated, two kind of things in there. Most of the companies, Chainstack included, which is great, is treat documentation, platform documentation, as part of the product. So you're making sure that all the buttons, all the interface, all the UI copy for a new feature to be released is, works in the product, and there is really no difference in the process for the documentation. It's just part of the product. If there is a feature that is working, everything pertaining to this, including the user interface elements and the sections in the documentation pertaining to that, they should work as well. So they are part of a regular process. Quality assurance, product management, technical writers all work as a team and do that. This one. The other is more open source, decentralized approach. Is you just own the documentation. You set yourself, like, you open issues and you tag the issues in some sort of a tracker or in GitHub that you tag as docs, that you tag as a feature that needs to be covered. You kind of maintain all of that yourself, being a driven individual, caring about that part of the system. But a good approach is to consider documentation not different from the product itself, but being part of the product, which is, that then becomes everybody's responsibility, and the product management is ultimately involved in that as well, because it's not different from itself.
Okay, cool. Thanks for the answer, and good to know about screenshots as well. No. I think we have Godwin, who is been waiting for us for some time. Could you please unmute yourself? Quick introduction and a question.
Okay, guys. Can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
Okay, good. So my name is Godwin Alexander. I'm a technical writer and software developer. The issue I kind of have with I've had experience with technical writing for like almost a year now. I work full time at Ninetale. So the problem I kind of have is documentation. Yeah. To a large extent, technical writing and documentation looks kind of a bit apart in terms of details and all that. So I've been finding it really difficult to write documentation. I mean, I don't really know how to do it. I know this is a Web3 space, yeah, but I was not like probably since there's a lot of persons who has way more ideas or experience with technical writing and maybe documentation as a whole. Maybe I should just ask to like help with probably a resource that could actually help me out with better understanding of documentation, probably a well-structured resource. I don't know if you understand what I'm talking about.
Okay. So did I get it right that your question is so you've been doing for 1 year full time? I didn't get the technical writing or software development. And
technical, right? I've actually been a software engineer for say like 4 to 5 years now. So, but technical writing, I've been doing that for just a year. Yeah, so since last year.
And the challenge you have in that is, can you say that again?
The challenge I have is writing documentations, technical documentations. So that's the issue I have. Because the job I recently got was to be a technical writer. So I kind of write blog posts and manage the documentation. So although it has not really been easy. It has been really difficult. Even if I get to like make a lot of research to see how best I could write some documentations, it's really difficult. So so what I'm asking for is a recommendation for some resources that could actually aid me make things a bit easier for me. I don't know if you get me.
Right. I understand. Yeah, that's a good question. Well, for resources, again, I don't have a specific resource, but you can just Google and find some highly rated, maybe on Udemy something to go through. They are relatively cheap, and that will expose the direction that you need to work on. But that said, I think what I noticed in your saying is you're a software developer and you have experience, and then you can write blog posts, but the blog post experience and text writing content experience is very different from the technical writing thing. And the challenge that you probably have, that you probably not have as a software developer, is trying to get your blog, you can create content type of experience and put it into the technical writing space. And the challenge that I think you have, I could be wrong, is that it's not really replicatable. It's not really the thing. You need to treat the technical writing more as a structured thing that you do as a software developer. That's a lot closer to it than producing blog posts as a technical copywriter. So if you can do a blog post, it's more of a copywriter experience, which is pretty distant from the technical writing experience. The technical writing experience is closer to be producing the code. So you need to declare variables. You need to do all that stuff in the code. In the technical writing, you need to do the exact same way. You need to start plotting out your, the documentation structure, and then you just fill it out. And as you fill it out, you need to do, cross-linking, cross whatever. So you need to like produce glossary, and to be always to make sure you're in the critical parts, you're linked to the glossary. You need to be producing sections that, so you can look up if you don't know the concept of topic-based authoring. Look up topic-based authoring, and based on that, work your way, push yourself forward. But as in, you need to be producing sections that can work, as standalone sections, and then you need to integrate these sections into the bigger user guide and make sure one flows from the other, and there is all the cross references, all the cross linking works in there. So well, at this point, I think what would be useful for you is to think of it less as content, as text, but more of information architecture and structure. How would you structure that? And once you have this structure, you just start, filling it out with words, and start producing clean code in there, but with words. And this way it would work. And as you can probably see, it's very different from being able to produce a blog post where you don't need the dictionary, you don't need the information architecture, you don't need the sections that you put together as a final product that you can produce independently, that sort of thing. I'm not sure if it helps, but that would be my approach based on what you said, if I understood you correctly.
Cool. Thanks for that. Awesome. Thanks for the question, Godwin. Thanks, Ake, for the answer. All right. Let's see if we have any more questions out here. I personally, I think it's been already 2 hours. Yeah, I think it's been 2 hours. So I'm not sure about you. I'm getting kind of tired.
Yeah, it's getting late.
It's getting late. Let's start wrapping up. Thanks once again, Ake, for all the content, all the juice, and thanks everyone, especially for the good questions. I think today we had quite a lot of super good questions. Is there anything that I forgot to ask, or you would like me to ask you that I should have asked?
Probably not. That was. Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of stuff we can talk about always, but that was pretty extensive, I think, for this session. And thank you so much again. As I said, everybody who joined the space and who contributed, and you for hosting the space. You're moving the industry forward, and I'm really not joking about that. So we all did a very, very positive thing today for Web3, and we should be proud, I think.
Yeah, I think this is definitely like I've been in tech for all of my career for more than 10 years now, and I've never, been in a conversation that was specifically, about technical writing. And, as a developer, I read the docs all the time, all my career. So it's definitely, I'm kind of surprised that it's not being talked about as much during conferences. And I think maybe that's like the next step for you as well, is to go to JSCon for some developer conference and talk about documentation and opportunities in documentation. Might be interesting. But I'm hoping that maybe we can do another sessions at some point about something adjacent as well, or we can talk maybe again about technical writing. This has been awesome. Once again, a reminder for everyone: Chainstack is hiring. Especially technical writers. The link is right in the Twitter space. It's pinned. If you open up your phone or desktop or whatever you're listening, and click and check it out. Make sure to follow Ake, Chainstack, and also Crypto Jobs and myself. We do share a bunch of different information resources, and we'll try to do these Twitter spaces more often. And again, as I mentioned, today was a bit of an experiment, and I think it was quite a success. So I feel we should be doing more of these kind of role-specific Twitter spaces.
Yeah, I think you should. Yeah, that would be super helpful. Yeah,
and I think it's much more interesting for people how to become a community manager. I think we had an Expromptu event about community management, but I think we can do another one that is maybe more structured and bring more people who are like super experienced and know what they're talking about. And once again, for everyone who maybe joined late, we'll in a few days we'll put this together as a recording on our podcast feed, which is called Work in Crypto, and on pretty much any podcasting app you should be able to find it. But we will also share it on our Twitter, so make sure to follow, and you'll find that there. Cool. Any closing remarks? Any closing thoughts?
That's been awesome. Thanks a lot.
All
Thanks
right.
a lot for the platform. Yep.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ake. Thanks so much, everyone, for asking questions. The questions were amazing. Super awesome quality of people today and turnout. All right. I'm going to be closing the space. Another 5 seconds for everyone to follow the speakers and hosts. All right. Take care, guys. Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.